Hi, welcome to today's episode of A Couple of Things. Today we are on episode 23 of 365 in 2024, and I'll be giving a quick run through of my Be Visible framework and what it entails. Yesterday I gave a talk about it at Hire Women Week, and I realized that I've mentioned it a couple of times on the podcast already, but I haven't really spoken in detail about it, so we're going to talk about that today. And basically it's all about how to self-promote without feeling weird and without being annoying or irritating to other people, and you yourself without feeling weird about it. All right, so the Be Visible workshop, let me start with where it came from. I was looking back at my journey and thinking about some of the things that kind of contributed to where I was at the time, and it was based on questions that people were always asking me, like how did I get to where I was and all of those things. And I could see something in that place, and it was me constantly sharing my work, constantly sharing what I was learning. When I was doing my sharing, I wasn't doing it from that point of view of like, this is going to help me in future. I just enjoyed doing it, and looking back I saw how that was very beneficial to my career trajectory and my growth, and that led to that Be Visible, creating that framework that I then taught in a workshop and made into a course and created an ebook around as well, and also a checklist that people can access easily. The Be Visible workshop or framework is built on the idea that it's not really about who you know or what you know, but who knows you know what you know. You've probably heard like it's about who you know, like to advance in your career and all of that. But I've realized that it's not really just who you know, it's also who knows you know what you know. Because if you are the best at everything or whatever it is that you do, you're the most amazing writer or the most amazing developer or the most amazing fill in the blank, if people don't know that, if they can't connect your work to you, then they can't refer you for opportunities or think of you when it's time to hire someone for a particular kind of opportunity, whether freelance or full-time or consulting or whatever other kind of arrangements that they're looking for. So what does the Be Visible framework look like? The Be Visible framework, as I have created it, contains three things. It is about creating, repurposing, and collaborating. The creating pillar is really about creating content, and it can look like anything that makes sense for you. It can be on Twitter, it can be on LinkedIn, it can be on TikTok, it can be anywhere. It could also be a newsletter, a blog, whatever. Basically something that allows you to share what you're learning, what you've done, case studies, how-tos, reviewing tools that you've used or tools that you use, or just sharing something about your perspective on a topic that is a hot topic in your industry in a meaningful manner. And the reason behind this is people want to hire who they know. They want to work with who they know. And even if this knowing is from seeing you on the internet, think about the creators that you follow or people that share on whatever platform that you follow them on. There's this sense where you feel like you know them, even though you don't know things about their lives intimately. There's just this feeling that you know them because you see them post regularly, whether on YouTube or on TikTok or on LinkedIn or in whatever sphere. You just feel like you know these people. And so if they recommend something to you or if they suggest something, you're more likely to listen. And if you think about a certain topic, for example, then you can connect them to that topic immediately. Like, oh, if I need information on this topic, I can check this person's profile or check their YouTube or check whatever. And that is a way to create a personal brand as well, so people can easily connect you with a field or an aspect or something, and it makes it easy for them to refer you for things. So in this place, you're thinking about, what do I want to be known for? What am I passionate about? What have I learned recently? And what can I begin to share and how? So the first part is to create. And on a personal note, my second job, when I worked at InterSwitch, The person who referred me to that job, I didn't know them. They were already working at InterSwitch at the time, and they had attended a meetup, the Usable Meetup UX Lagos that I spoke at. That was the first time I was speaking about UX research, and I was so nervous that day because I was like, I just started doing this thing. I shouldn't be giving this talk. I don't know what I'm doing, but I was just sharing what I had learned so far, and they were so impressed by my talk and followed me for a bit. And then when InterSwitch was hiring for a UX researcher, they recommended me. Again, I had never spoken to this person before, ever, but because they came to that one talk and then they engaged with me from there, they were able to refer me for a role at their company, which I had to interview for, and I got. This framework doesn't mean that you will immediately get every single opportunity that exists, but it just gives you a leg up, because that role, as far as I can remember, it was never publicly published, and it was just something that somebody on the team recommended me for because they had seen me somewhere, because I created something, essentially. So yeah, create, step one. Step two, or part two of the framework, is to repurpose. That is to take something that you've already created before and remix it. You can do this by changing the format of the thing that you created. So what I've been doing with this podcast is also an example of that. Some of the episodes of this podcast are articles that I've written before, essays that I've published somewhere before, and I'm now talking about them on the podcast, or just literally reading them, or kind of like audio version of those articles. So that is repurposing, remixing. And it's a way to reach people in their preferred format. Some people prefer to listen to things, some people prefer to read them. And another thing is, it creates this repetition of the things that you talk about, makes it easier for people to associate you with that thing, and it also helps your consistency. Some other example is Lenny. Lenny has this newsletter that is around product and tech, and he recently published a book based on the newsletter. So it's like some of the best essays from the newsletter, some of the best interviews, I think, all published in one book. And that is a way of repurposing. And the good thing about repurposing and creating is that you can actually make money from it beyond the opportunities that you get from like being exposed to job opportunities or whatever other kind of opportunity. You can also actually make money from it immediately. Like Lenny's newsletter is free. They have some free episodes, and then they have some subscriber only paid episodes of the newsletter. I don't think episode is the right word, issue of the newsletter. And then now there's the book that people can buy, right? So this is multiple ways of creating value for yourself and then for other people as well. And the reason that this works is because content is like energy, because it can change in form and format. And repurposing also helps you stretch your content and give your audience new experiences, and allows you to reach new audiences, because some people are not going to read a newsletter, but they will listen to a podcast. Some people are not going to read a LinkedIn post or article, but they will watch a TikTok video. So it just allows you to experiment with different formats for your content. And creating templates helps as well. Like, I kind of have a template for this podcast that helps me with what I want to do. And even with the YouTube videos, I have some templates on Canva that I just repurpose for different episodes. And then when you create content as well, thinking about how you can repurpose it as you're creating it also helps you. Like, you can think about, if I write this essay or publish this newsletter, then I can put this snippets on Instagram or on LinkedIn, or use this part for a podcast or something. I remember I wrote an article one time, and that led to me being interviewed for a podcast because they really liked the article, and they read it out and then did like a 5 minutes post-reading interview with me as well. And the final part of the framework, so first part is to create, second part is to repurpose, and the third part is to collaborate. And collaboration is basically creating content with other people, and it also amps up that networking aspect of creating content to be more visible about your work. And the thing about self-promotion in this way is that you're not really promoting yourself, you're promoting your work. You're not really talking about you, you're talking about the work that you've done, the things that you've accomplished, the things that you're working on, things that you're thinking about, things that you're learning. So it's not really about you, more like it's about the things that you've actually done. And collaboration is this place where you can work with someone else, and both of you, or as many of you are collaborating, can feed off each other and create something that is valuable, and also draw each other into your respective audiences. It's where you're creating value for both yourself, or you yourself, the person you're, or people that you're collaborating with, and the audience who is going to engage with whatever you have created. So you could interview someone on Instagram Live, you could do Twitter/X Spaces, you could create a resource together, create a workshop, teach a course, do a limited podcast series or limited newsletter series. Lenny does this really well with, like, he interviews so many people who are doing great things in their respective spaces, and exposing them to like a new audience, giving them new reach, and providing value to his own newsletter as well, because people who follow those people in their own space are also now being brought into learning space by those people as well. And so, yeah, just like think about the ways that you can collaborate with people, engaging meaningfully with those people in some way, makes it easier to actually be able to collaborate with them. And another thing to think about with collaboration is think about how to collaborate with your peers, right? Because a lot of the time you tend to want to collaborate with people who are like way more advanced in their careers, which is great and can work, but it's much easier to collaborate with your peers because you can work on something together. You're pretty much in the same place and you can relate better with each other, and you're both growing together as well. Another way you can collaborate is by volunteering, right? And just volunteering somewhere with someone and working with them to create something. And things you can think about here is like, who can you collaborate with to create something valuable? Think about the people that you've worked with. Is there something from the process of the work that you've done that is valuable to share with people? Yeah, and at the end of the day, the thing to know when it comes to this self-promotion, be visible framework is that it's about creating value. At the end of the day, you are creating value for someone else, be it in entertaining them, in educating them, or both. That is the thing to note. The value, there's value. It's not just you talking and making noise on the internet. It is you sharing something that is valuable. Because at the end of the day, even if you're being showy and out there and everything, people will always check if there's substance to that. So you have to have substance. It is important to build, to do, and then to share. Build, do, share. It's not just sharing. There has to be weight behind what you're sharing so that you're not an empty barrel just making it on the internet. So yeah, I hope this helps. Remember, create, repurpose, and collaborate. And if you want more details about the visible thing, I'm going to link to the course and the ebook in the show notes so you can get it if you want. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of A Couple of Things. If you enjoyed this episode or found any part of it insightful, don't forget to share with your friends on your social media, and be sure to leave a comment or a review if you can on your podcast listening app. Thank you.